Hey, y'all, what's up, man? It's RicoKnows. How y'all doing today? Hey, thank you guys for joining me tonight. It is, what is it? I don't know what day of the week it is, but it is Transfer Portal linebacker episode. I'm excited about this episode. We're going to talk about linebackers. I don't agree with the rankings. I want to just be up front with you guys on that. 24/7 Sports on 3. Whoever's ranking these Transfer Portal players, they don't know what they're doing. They're ranking players who've never played before ahead of players who are first team all conference in a Power 5 conference, things like that. It's just weird, man. And there's really nothing I can do for you other than get it right. That's all I can do is get it right. And that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to show you guys a number of things. But we're going to start the show off by just reminding you guys of a couple things. Please don't fast forward this part. This part really matters, right? Before we get to it, hit the like button, hit a comment, whatever you do. I don't really give a shit. Shout out to TikTok. We got 6 people watching on TikTok right now. I guarantee you that number is going to go up as we continue the show. Shout out to people watching on YouTube. I don't know how many are watching right now, but we'll get those numbers up as well. It just happens, bro. You just be consistent, be accurate, and people will show up. So let's talk about a few things real quick. First thing we're going to talk about, the Patreon. Shout out to the MVPs on Patreon. You can be an MVP on Patreon or YouTube, either one. If you don't want to get another app, just hit the join button right now on YouTube. You'll get all these videos, you'll get all the information, and you'll win a lot of money. That's the reality of the situation. And if you don't believe me, there's a free video here on Patreon, YouTube. It's free. It talks about UFC Las Vegas 102, our results show. And if you aren't aware, for the second week in a row, went undefeated on locks. Straight up, went undefeated on locks. Locks are now 15-5 on the season. That's for the entire year of 2025. So since January 1st, we're 75% on locks. That might sound like a really impressive number for you. It's not. We've been better. Last year, we were 83% on the whole year, or 82 and some change. Okay, leans 13-7 so far this year. We got to get better. Sounds really good, though, right where we're at. Value bets. That's amazing, bro. 10 out of 11. So in 21 fights, I chose the underdog to win correctly 10 times. It's a phenomenal number because every underdog in the UFC is a plus 2, 3, 4, 500, whatever it is, especially when we pick them. And we've been hitting on those. If you put a unit on every one of those, I don't know what your ROI is, but you'd be out of your mind right now. Parlays were 50-50. They've started off rough, been dominating the last 2 fight cards. And I just want to thank all the MVPs for rocking with me. Remember, on main events in 2025, I'm 4-1. I'm 80% when picking the main event. Understand that, guys. The main event is 2 equivalent fighters, championship caliber fighters. There's no way you're going to get it right. It's a coin flip, if you will, where they're both respected, and I can continually, pick the right winner over and over and over. We're at 80% on main events in 2025. We're going to keep track of that all year long. Shout out to the MVPs who believe in me. If you don't know where to find this stuff, download the app Patreon, search RicoKnows. That's all you got to do in your life. Search RicoKnows. You'll find the page, and you'll find out why we have over 5,000 members. Shout out to them. Shout out to YouTube as well. We do have a couple hundred members on YouTube. Don't really advertise it as much. Don't really push it that far, but it's there. You can be a YouTube MVP. Once you do that, connect your Discord to the Patreon or the YouTube, and you'll get on the Discord server where all the MVPs are sharing their winnings. Shout out to my boy, Lucky Luciano, won over $10,000 on Saturday night. I don't care what your unit size is. It's a significant amount of winning on one random Saturday night, all right? Let me tell you guys who else was winning for many, many years, and that's Lavar Ball. Shout out to him, man. This is a dad, just a good dad, right? Raised 3 young men to be productive members of society. Now, one of them was a klepto and stole some shit in China or whatever. Turns out he's a decent rapper. I don't like his music, but he is doing that old school kind of no-limit rapping style. And if you don't know, I grew up in the West Coast, Southern California. We didn't like anything Master P was doing, anything Juvenile was doing, Mystical, and who's that guy? I forgot his name. 2 Chainz. Dude, we didn't like any of those guys, just so you're aware. So if you put something out and it sounds like them, I still don't like it. There's nothing you can do to make me like that music. You guys can watch me on live stream all day long when I'm working and gathering my information and preparing for these podcasts. You'll never hear me play some shit like that. You'll never hear it. Shake your fan. Watch your stuff. You won't hear it, bro. I'm not saying wobble, wobble, shake it, shake it. I'm not whispering in your ear. I'm not doing no yin-yang. I'm not doing none of that shit. I keep it simple, bro. Give me my West. I'm on DJ Quick. I'm on Warren G. Anything with Nate Dogg, I'm straight. Like, if it's got Nate Dogg in it, it's platinum, right? And then I'm listening to a bunch of other stuff. But I'm just letting you know. Shout out to Lavar Ball. He lost his foot, they said, due to health issues. The only health issues I know of that you need to amputate a foot is diabetes. Only one I know. And I'm ignorant in this regard. Let me be very clear. I'm not a doctor. I haven't trained to be a doctor. I haven't studied to be a doctor. I'm extremely educated. but I'm a cyber expert. I'm a college football expert. I'm a journalist expert. I'm a this expert. I'm a that expert. I'm not an expert in the world of health and fitness, I don't think. I have been working out my entire life. I have led men to work out. Shout out to the Army. So we are fitness junkies. We do what we do. But I'm going to tell you right now, Lavar Ball was once quoted as saying he's undefeated, never lost in one-on-one basketball. He could beat Jordan. He said never lost, undefeated. And all I want to say is the only person I know undefeated is sugar, all right? Stay away from sugar. Do your best not to drink it. You're going to eat it regardless, right? It's in every carb you've ever had. But do your best not to drink sugar and get through that, okay? You'll keep all your limbs. I have a younger cousin. He's a year younger than me, I think. 1 or 2 years younger than me. Now that I think about it, maybe 3, 4. I don't know. Probably 3 years younger than me. And the poor guy, he's lost his foot already due to diabetes. And he's on dialysis. So I know this is affecting a lot of people. Yeah, sugar's undefeated. And it looks like Lavar Ball will never lose, though. He said he's undefeated, never lost. And I made a joke and I said, bro, the only time he'll see defeat is in older pictures because he doesn't have 2 feet anymore. He'll never see defeat unless he takes his socks off, right? No, man, it's unfortunate for this guy, and it's just a shame. Now, it's not really sporting news. It's just TMZ news. That guy doesn't play any sports, really. He's just the father to some people who play sports. This is like reporting on, I don't know, somebody's dad. Who's that guy? Patrick Mahomes? His dad's going to fight John Rocker and get knocked the hell out. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about the transfer portal, linebackers. And if you see my face going off, it's because I don't have the lights on in the studio today. I'm just chilling, bro. I'm just chilling in my lab upstairs. If you don't know, my lab is within my own home. And I do everything myself. I don't care. Graphics are covering your face, Rico. I don't care. The content has to be accurate. And one of those things that has to be accurate is my assessment of the transfer portal. So I put out a list on Twitter. Now, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you just don't like being informed and know what's going on, that's fine. Let me help you guys out. On Twitter, RicoKnows, TikTok, all one word, I do a lot of advocating for players to get college scholarships. That's where I do my high school film reviews on TikTok, and then I try to get kids scholarships. So far this year, we've probably helped, I'd say, at least 50 players get offers and get committed to a school somewhere. I have a current list of 50 of the top players in the country that aren't committed to a school yet from the class of 2025, trying to help them. And I don't care if that's FBS, FCS, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO. We're just trying to find you an opportunity to continue your college career. But while I'm on Twitter, I do have some time from time to time, and I will make these lists, these occasional top 10 lists. So here's one, my top 10 linebackers in the transfer portal. And I don't give a damn what these recruiting websites say. I don't care what they rank players, what they do. They don't. They're all lying. They're all on the take. None of them are giving you accurate information, and it's embarrassing. So the number one linebacker in the transfer portal for me is Josiah Trotter. If you don't know Josiah Trotter, I'm going to talk about him at length during this episode, so I won't go into too much detail with him right now. Brad Spence, same thing. Nikhai Hillgreen, here transferring from Colorado, going to Alabama. Brad Spence going from Arkansas to Texas. Those are my top 3 linebackers. At 4th, I have Marques Watson-Trent, leaving Georgia Southern, going to Nebraska. Jacob Manu, leaving Arizona, going to Washington. Elijah Herring, leaving Memphis, going to Florida State. Jaden Yates, leaving Liberty, going to Ole Miss. Drue Watts, stud, leaving Nevada, going to Memphis. Sam Brumfield, leaving Virginia Tech, going to Memphis. And then Chase Wilson, leaving Colorado State, going to West Virginia. What I want to say about some of these players is this. They're not valued according to the recruiting websites. They don't have ranked very high. Some of these guys aren't even in today's episode, and I went 25 deep. They're my top 10, though. I don't care that they're not in the top 10 on the recruiting websites. They're wrong. They're wrong. They have Jacob Manu ranked somewhere on the list, way down there, and then I look at the player right above him, and it's a player who didn't play a single snap of college football. This is a man who was first team all Pac-12 in 2023. Don't tell me he's not better than somebody on a bench somewhere. That's absurd. I prefer production versus potential. That's just the way I analyze players. That's the way I analyze football. When I look at you and I say, have you been doing this on a Saturday? Then yes, I'm there, okay? And I'm on it. So when you look at this list, guys that aren't going to be talked about in today's episode, I want to talk about them. So number one guy that needs to be talked about is Marques Watson-Trent. This is a young man who led Georgia Southern in tackles. He's the leader of that defense. He's a captain. He's everything. And to see him transfer to Nebraska so late in the cycle after Nebraska was signing other players, recruiting a ton of linebackers, they signed him later in the process. I just thought, wow, that's an awesome get for Nebraska. I'm not too intrigued by a lot of Nebraska signings, but I like that one a lot. Okay. Another player not in today's episode, Jaden Yates. Complete stud. Going to Ole Miss. I don't know if he starts, but good for him. Going to get a paycheck is fine. I don't necessarily know if Ole Miss needs him. I hope they do, because I like him as a player. Drue Watts, not in this episode because they don't have him ranked in the top 25 on 3 or 24/7 Sports, excuse me. But Drue Watts is the leader of the Nevada defense. And if you go watch tape, just a complete stud. And to see him and Sam Brumfield going to Memphis really, really just it tells me that Memphis is evaluating players correctly. Some people will talk about, like Sam Brumfield, for example. He was at Virginia Tech this year. He started maybe the first 7 games, and then he kind of fell out of favor with the coaching staff. A lot of that has to do with some really good linebackers at Virginia Tech. And when you have a counterpart, somebody you're competing with, that's 6'3", 230, 240, and you're only 5'11", 220, they're going to take the guy who's younger, more potential, and is actually playing better than you. And that's what happened with Sam Brumfield. This is a former starting middle linebacker at Middle Tennessee State. I still think he can play at a group of 5 level for sure. But when he got to Virginia Tech, there were other players there that kind of shined or outshined him. And that's unfortunate. So I think it's a good get for Memphis, though. Shout out to Memphis. You got to find linebackers. You find a guy who's comfortable playing in Tennessee, coming back home to Tennessee. Yeah, it's a good move for Sam Brumfield. I'm glad he's going back to where he's comfortable. And then you have Chase Wilson. I'll say this about West Virginia. West Virginia was a cluster last year on defense. A lot of it has to do with the fact that their defensive coordinator was fired in like October. Unfortunately for him, he was fired due to domestic violence. A domestic violence accusation, I think in January they finally dropped the charges. But you lose your job, right? You lose a job that's paying you over $500,000 a year. And everybody blames you for everything at West Virginia. I'm going to talk about some West Virginia linebackers in today's episode. And there are some guys, I got messages immediately telling me, Rico, you don't know what you're talking about. He can't cover. Josiah Trotter, for example, West Virginia middle linebacker. West Virginia linebacker, just complete stud. And I got all these messages telling me, oh, he can't cover. He can't cover. Do you understand the scheme was terrible? The scheme was so bad that Anthony Wilson led them in tackles. A safety led you in tackles. Do you know what that means when a safety leads you in tackles? It means the other team got a first down because your safety's not starting at the line of scrimmage. He's not in your front 7. So when safeties lead your team in tackles, chances are your defense is terrible. I'm letting you know because there's 2 layers of the defense before they get there. They call it the secondary, but it's really the 3rd layer of the defense. First layer is defensive line. Second layer is the linebackers. And then the secondary is the 3rd layer of the defense. If they're leading you in tackles, something's wrong with your scheme and the people in front of you. And or the people in front of you. But when I watch Josiah Trotter, that's a phenomenal player. The Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year among freshmen as a redshirt freshman coming back from an injury. The son of an NFL superstar. The brother of a former team captain at Clemson. It's like these guys are the real deal. I love that family goes about their business the right way. And I will talk about a family who doesn't go about their business the right way shortly. That's real talk. I'm just letting you know. I also have top 5 hidden gen linebackers, and I'm going to talk about Boom Jock leaving Colorado State, going to Cal, just a complete stud. This is a man who I think he played wide receiver in high school, got over there to Colorado State and just proved his worth. And that's a stud. It's a good get for California. Max Harris, leader on the defense at Texas State last year, and looks like he lifts every weight in the world. And Arizona found their replacement for Manu. Congratulations to Max Harris. Got there a little late, by the way. Fisher Camac, I'm going to talk about him during the episode. Brian McCoy, one of the nation's leading tacklers. I'm not too excited about Brian McCoy, but he did have a lot of tackles in the MAC. Seeing him transfer to Oklahoma State, it's just not an equivalent thing. It just isn't. And I want to say something about these linebackers. There's one linebacker I left off this list, but after I went through and did some studying today, I realized that Oklahoma's going to use him as a linebacker, and I'll talk about him in today's episode, by the way. And then there's Gideon Lampron going to Bowling Green. So where did he play school at? FCS. Was it Drayton? Looked good on tape, man. So he's one of my hidden gems as well. Shout out to Bowling Green. All these teams had to replace stud linebackers departing, whether it be by graduation or transfers, and they did that. So those are who I'm starting with, and now we're going to get into the transfer portal and talk about it. Now, just to give you guys an understanding of the format of the show, I'm going to talk about the top available linebackers that I think are the best available linebackers right now. And then I'm going to talk about some linebackers that are committed or enrolled, at schools. And then I'm going to jump to the chat. So if you're watching the show right now and you want to put something in the chat, please feel free to do that. I will get to you, okay? Just put it in the chat. If you're watching on TikTok right now, move over to YouTube, put it in the chat. I will get to you. We'll just let it build up, and then I'll eventually answer your guys' questions. But thank you for being here tonight. So when we look at linebackers, the best available linebackers in the transfer portal, there are still surprisingly some very good studly players in the transfer portal right now. One of them is Eli Ennis. He's been offered by everybody in the group of 5. He's a young man who I think he led nickels and tackles. He looks very good. He looks like a very good player. I turned on the tape yesterday to do some research on him. I actually started following him on Twitter, and I just had to say, oh my God, that kid's good. So he's probably my number 2 linebacker in the transfer portal, still available right now. He's number 2. Michael Moore is not in the transfer portal. As far as I know, he's getting ready for the NFL draft. So that's not an available one. Luke Banbury, he led Cornell in tackles. He might have led all of the Ivy League in tackles. So that's an FCS guy who finds his way to the ball. 1 year of eligibility left. Somebody's going to sign him. He can play FBS level football. Mohamed Kaba, I like this kid. He's just, unfortunately, he's been injured, I think, for 2 years now. He's had 2 ACL injuries or knee injuries or something. But I remember when he was a freshman, he jumped on the scene and started playing ball. It's unfortunate he doesn't play, or he can't stay healthy. I think a team, if he can pass a physical and they can believe in him, he's got a shot. Julian Simon, shout out to him and his brother. Julian Simon, this is a young man, transferred around with his brother. I believe they were at USC first. Then they went to Tulsa, and now they just transferred to UConn. I believe his brother's going to the NFL. He says, go get drafted, bro. Retire mama. I don't know if you're going to make enough money to retire your mother if you're a late round draft pick. Just so I just want to be clear to some of you guys. I remember an NFL draft pick. Man, I forget his name. He played at Thompson High School here in Georgia, and then he played at Georgia. He's an undrafted free agent, and he ended up making it and sticking on the team with the Patriots for a year. Then he signed a new contract, and he signed with the Lions. He was making about $600,000 a year. But after taxes, after paying your agent, and after all the damn cars he bought, he had like $400,000 worth of cars in the driveway. This is a dude who lived across the street from me in my last neighborhood. Serious. Defensive tackle. I'm forgetting his name right now. I had to search and look him up because he was working out in the spring, and I was like, yo, bro, that guy looks huge. And then they had like a Detroit Lions thing up, and I started doing the searches on this stuff, and I figured out, oh, this is my neighbor. Oh, shit, he's my neighbor. And just terrible waste of money. But spent half his money, at least from what I can tell, on cars. Seriously, buying a Jeep, a Charger, and something. And they had like 6 people living in one house. You didn't retire mom and dad. You just lived it up for a little bit and bought a bunch of liabilities. Stop buying cars. I just don't know how else can I explain this to you guys. And I don't mean to lecture you about money, but man, if you were making an investment, let me just say this. If you were making an investment and you were buying stock and you were trying to buy an investment, you're trying to invest in something, and you paid $700 a month. That's about the average price of a car right now. People are they're financing $700 a month for 72 months. They sound absurd, just so you guys are aware. But $700 a month, if you made that investment every single month for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and I told you that stock was going to go down in value by 60%, would you keep buying it? I just need to know if you would keep buying that stock. Like some of you guys buy stock right now and it drops 5%, 10%. You sell and you're out. You cut your losses and you roll on. You move on. What if you bought a car, it depreciates, it goes down in value instantly, right? Like 50, 60% right away? Just done 30%, you drive off the lot? Meaning you bought a car for $30,000, they won't buy it back from you unless for more than $25,000? And then after about a year or two, it goes down in more value, down in more value, down in more value. This is your investment. This is what you guys are spending money on. So if you kept throwing $700 a month at a car, that's not an investment. That's a liability. Rico, I need it to get to work. And all that. Well, then fine, dude. Be responsible. Dude, you sound absurd. You guys are crazy. You can only drive one. You guys should look into this, man. I don't finance cars personally. My life is good. I buy them cash, but I never overextend myself. We could talk, bro. We could talk. We could talk about it. I'm letting you know. I've never hit a number from you guys. Never hit a number from you guys. I make $50,000 a month plus. I make over $50,000 a month doing this. And I drive a Camry. Because I can retire for real. I don't ever have to work again a day in my life. I can retire for real on the beach somewhere. Just watching the waves roll by. I choose to do this because I love to do it, because I want to keep stacking, trying to buy my kids a compound, trying to leave them a legacy and all this shit. But you guys got to make better decisions, bro. I'm just letting you know. Just sorry for that rant. But shout out to Julian Simon. Like the guy. Good player. Hope somebody believes in him and takes him. By the way, he transferred into UConn last year. Didn't see the field much when he probably usually does. And it's just unfortunate he didn't. Doesn't play at all. Josh Calvert didn't play at Utah. Xavier Carter, complete bust. I'm tired of seeing this 4-star nonsense. Dude has never played a day in his life of college football. I think Xavier Carter and I have the same amount of tackles. So it is what it is. These guys have never played. Nico Lopez currently enrolled at Saddleback, I believe. California kid. I think he went back to a JUCO. Nothing. Devin Curtis can play. Been playing football for a long time. I want to say he's at least 22, 23 years old. He's been playing for college football for like 5 years. That guy can contribute. One of the better, Big Sky schools or Missouri Valley schools, something like that. Carter White never played. Young. Trevor Woods, you know him. You know Trevor Woods. He's really a safety, a linebacker, whatever you want to call him. Interesting that he's available still. Hope he signs somewhere cool like North Dakota State or some shit like that. Logan Peli, you know his brother. Cool. Reggie Peterson, best linebacker available right now. Team leader at FIU, best linebacker available. Unfortunately for him, he said some shit on Twitter, and he put the whole coaching staff on blast. And maybe some people feel some type of way about that. I don't. I think it's good. I think he's a team leader. That's a leader, man. Led the team in tackles. I believe in that dude all day long. I'm cool with Reggie Peterson. My number one linebacker available in the transfer portal right now. Hands down. Avery Morris can play some football. Very good. I like Avery Morris. Charlotte. He's good for about 40, 50 tackles or something like that a season. Not bad. Not a bad player. Especially with the other linebackers that are there at Charlotte. Not bad. Elijah Wood. Athletic. Former 3-star athletic kid. I believe he started his career at San Jose State. Went over to Utah Tech, but I don't know who's going to sign him. I don't know where he goes. Probably a better FCS school. I don't know. Like Darius Wallace. Alec didn't play. This was a leading tackler from New Mexico. Went to K-State. Didn't play this year. I don't know if he was injured or it didn't work out. And something else. Desmond Baker. Used to be a good player, man. He was actually at Western Kentucky for a while. Transferred into Southern Miss last year. Played pretty good. I like him. Christian Furman, I don't know. Is he in the NFL or is he playing? I don't know what this is. Some of these guys are NFL guys. Pinckney declared for the NFL draft after leading Southern Miss in tackles. Geronte Davis, talk about a guy who just pissed away his whole college career going to big schools that didn't really want him. Went to Texas A&M, never saw the field. Went to Louisville, never saw the field. This is a guy who had like 80-something tackles his first year at Middle Tennessee State and then just been never wanting to play football. I don't know what that is. Minor didn't belong at Memphis. Hey, Tessman can play football. He's not bad. Davidson, this is a good guy. 6'3", 230. He's good for about 50 tackles a year. He's not bad at all. Guys never saw the field. I like this dude right here. He's a pass rushing specialist right here. Michael Lucien, he's a little under. These are tweeners, bro. It's life. So, he belongs in the FBS. I think in a rotation somewhere. Jacksonville State type shit. Something like that. Should I say type? I shouldn't be saying this, huh? The kids say certain phrases. Hey, I do it for the huzz. I'm like, okay, cool. They said hyperpigmentation to me. I don't know what any of this means, bro. The brain rot words are here. Before I get into the enrolled, I'm going to check the chat real quick, see if anybody said anything. Shout out to you guys. I got chat up in here. We're bugged a little bit. Let's see what the chat's saying. Hunter Darling says, let's ride. What up, man? Let's ride. Thank you for being here, Hunter. Hunter loves all these episodes, by the way. He lives for them. Thoughts on Andrew Jones from Grambling to Ole Miss? Davis Baylor. First thing I want to say is he's not in this episode. And I'm going to go back and watch more film. But knee-jerk reaction, I don't get all the hype. I don't get why they're talking about Andrew Jones like he's the best linebacker in the portal or he's one of the best players. Yeah, I got it. He got offers from certain schools, and I guess that equates to being great. But when I watched it, I just saw it just looked like another player to me. He really did. I wasn't blown away. I wasn't impressed. And this was before he signed with Ole Miss. I think signing with Ole Miss is a mistake. They don't need him. They don't want him. Oh, we need him, Rico. We want him. He's in our rotation. He'd be a starter. Whatever, bro. Like, okay. Maybe I assess talent differently. Maybe I do. I'm just not. It doesn't blow me away. Just another move. And congratulations to him. He wanted to play big-time FBS football. He's going to the SEC. Everybody's talking about it like it's the greatest thing they ever seen. I just listed 10 guys that I know can play on Saturdays in the FBS. It is what it is. Connor Formia says, little late, was eating dinner, got to rewind at 1.5. Shout out to Connor. Whenever you get here late, what you do is you start the show over and just set it to 1.5 playback speed, and you're good, man. You don't have to worry about anything. You won't miss anything. So it's pretty cool. Shout out to him. You won't miss much. You didn't get here late, bro. We just started. Joel Bellarome says, Rico, blessing us with the knowledge. Excited for this episode. Thank you, man. I'm excited for the episode as well. I'm going to do my best to inform you guys about these players. You know, there's always a homer out there who knows his team inside and out and is like, Rico doesn't know what he's talking about. Those guys all fade away, bro. Those guys don't last. And I'm still here years later. It is what it is. It's just the way we get down. Cairo says, Ole Miss got multiple, the sideline and the spot behind the coach. Dude, let me tell you, the lamest coach in the world is the get-back coach. If y'all don't know, let's say you didn't play football and you're not familiar with the get-back coach. I'm going to tell you who the get-back coach is. The get-back coach is a guy on the sideline, and his whole job in life is to tell us get back because we're within that 3-yard spot in between the field and the bench, and you'll get a penalty, a sideline interference if you run into the referee or whatever. Get back coach. He's also holding coach's pack, his mic set with the dudes in the tower, whatever, right? I'm the son of a coach. I played for coached. If I have a coach on my coaching staff who's just not worth a damn, and I don't need him making in-game adjustments, making assessments, telling me anything, we make him the get-back coach. And we don't even need him, bro. He'd get back, find a roll of tape. He's the guy that runs to get the roll of tape for us. Might as well be an equipment manager as far as I'm concerned. But, yeah, that's real. And if you're behind that guy, your life sucks. Think about that for a second. All right, I'm going to talk about the linebackers that are enrolled at schools, and then we'll move on from there, and we'll come back to the chat. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Not a lot of questions, not a lot of comments. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't care. People watch these after hours, if you guys didn't know. By the way, if it looks like I'm looking somewhere else and all this stuff, it's because we put the camera in a different spot tonight. Kim helped me adjust it. If you were watching on TikTok Live, we wanted to get it leveled with the RicoKnows back here. And so we put it in a spot where now it looks like I'm reading screens and doing other things. I'm not. I'm just not used to looking up here instead of where I usually look, which is right here. So it's just the way it is. I hope nobody freaks out on that. We'll adjust it as we go. Got another question here. It says, thoughts on Virginia Tech hiring Philip Montgomery? Shout out to you, OXOX28. Before we get into the linebacker episode, we'll talk about it. So, Virginia Tech just hired offensive coordinator Philip Montgomery. Unfortunately, their offensive coordinator just departed to be the new offensive line coach at, I believe, Ohio State. So, now they go and hire Philip Montgomery. What do we think about Philip Montgomery? Well, Philip Montgomery was just recently fired or let go as the offensive coordinator at Auburn last year. And before that, Philip Montgomery was the head coach at Tulsa. So we can go back further in his coaching career. I don't want to give you guys a whole rundown on who Philip Montgomery is, and I'm not here to repeat off and rattle off his Wikipedia or anything. But I want to stay focused on linebackers with the questions. And since this is not on topic, I'll just briefly touch on it. Shout out to Virginia Tech. You found a quarterback, or you found a coach that generally utilizes throwing quarterbacks. Lately, they've been using him to use like dual threat quarterbacks, right? That's what they did at Auburn 2 years ago when they brought in Peyton Thorne and all this stuff. And it didn't really work out after 1 year. And before that, though, he was at Tulsa, and he had a starting quarterback by the name of Davis Brin. And Davis Brin was pretty decent. and he threw for a bunch of yards, and he eventually transferred to Georgia Southern and led the country in passing when he got with a different coach. So Philip Montgomery couldn't get him to lead the country in passing. Philip Montgomery also didn't have an identity when it comes to quarterbacks because he had Davis Brin, who was a pocket quarterback, drop back, pro-style quarterback. And the other guy on the roster at the time fighting Davis Brin for playing time was a quarterback named Braylon Braxton. And I loved Braylon Braxton. I was screaming, start Braylon Braxton, start him, start him, start him. Phil Montgomery never had the audacity to start this dual threat superstar. He just kept him on the bench and didn't really play him much. The next year, the new head coach at Tulsa, who's since been fired, still didn't start Braylon Braxton. They just didn't use him. He got injured or they didn't like him or whatever. And he eventually transferred to Marshall this year, and all Braylon Braxton did was win the entire conference. And now he's transferring to Southern Miss, and it looks like Southern Miss is going to win the conference next year. What I'm trying to tell you is I've watched this man, Philip Montgomery, misevaluate talent for years upon years. Now, to say he doesn't know X's and O's would be an overstatement. It would be not an overstatement. It would be disingenuous. It would be inaccurate. I understand that he knows one aspect of being an offensive coordinator, which is calling plays and having a game plan for Saturdays. And he's run a whole program, right? He's been a head coach for many years. But there's things to be said about certain players that you don't start. Like I tell you guys this all the time. The quickest way to be unemployed and get fired as a coach is to misevaluate talent. Like, the minute you have a really good player and you don't start him, and I can see it from home with my iPhone, I can see it from home on my computer screen. Why can I evaluate talent better than you? And why do I put it in 4K and tell the world about it years in advance? And I just won't ever stop telling them. And you live there and you can't get it right. You do this for a living. This is how you feed your family and you can't get it right. So here he gets another opportunity, and he has a quarterback that I don't think suits him well for his play style, right? You just lost some amazing wide receivers. They had a loaded wide receiver room, and they couldn't utilize it because the quarterback, Kyron Drones, doesn't really throw downfield like that. Kyron Drones is a great dual threat quarterback. He's a good running quarterback. He and Baishal Tootin were a 1-2 punch that I can really believe in. We bet on them every week, essentially, taking his over yards and rushing yards and all this stuff. But when it comes to hitting Allie Jennings or Jalen Lane or Felton, like, they had so many good receivers that they weren't utilizing, and it fucking hurts my soul, right? I'm like, man, use these guys. They're so good. And so I hope Philip Montgomery can get the most out of Kyron Drones, but it doesn't look good from a continuity standpoint, and it doesn't for me unless he showed up bringing Louis luggage, which he didn't do. There's nobody left from that Tulsa teams that should be transferring in, and he couldn't win over and get somebody over. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's like that. And by the way, Virginia Tech went out and signed 4 different running backs. It's crazy. So I think their identity is going to be smashing the ball, like running the ball. And that was not the identity at Auburn when he was there. That was not the identity of Tulsa when he was there. So if your best players are the running backs and you have a running quarterback, are we doing some read option? Are we doing some traditional zone reads and like real running though? Like, are we doing this? Do we have the personnel to do it? I don't know. And so Virginia Tech is going to be a hard one. I got to study it all offseason before I give out my win-loss totals. But you got to hire somebody. It's not a bad hire because he knows how to run a whole program, knows how to do something like that. But I don't know, man. I'm not too excited. Eric Zapinski says, made my day when I saw an episode popping up, Rico. Off topic, but thoughts on the Luke Fickell extension. Luke Fickell, if you didn't hear, Luke Fickell just got extended to 2032. Knee-jerk reaction is on 3, Wisconsin. Anybody else, I don't care how long the extension is. That dude's still in my top 5 for hot seat. I still think it's a terrible hire. You know, it's like the guys who you find out your girl cheated on you, and then you see them and they're going on vacation and now they're engaged. And you're like, bro, she just cheated on you. What are you doing? Like, she sucks as a person. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? This doesn't work. You just caught her texting another dude. Now you just bought her a car? Like, what are we doing? And I'm not saying Luke Fickell is out there doing great things. It'd be like if you had an employee at work and he was substandard and you found out his production sucks and his results are worse, and then you give him a raise. Why? Why would you give him a raise? Are you that insecure? Do you not have anybody else? Are you trying to show stability within the program to win a recruit? What are you doing? Wisconsin, what are you doing? Luke Fickell's done nothing. The only thing I know is you hired the wrong guy just based on results. You know, I was going to talk about this. I'm not touching on it right now. Who was the kid? The kid that played at Wisconsin? Leonard, right? The defensive coordinator? They were supposed to hire Leonard. And he's now coaching in the NFL. And they didn't hire Leonard. They hired Luke Fickell instead. The team wanted you to hire Leonard. Everybody wanted you to hire him. Everybody. But you said, no, we're going to go get Luke Fickell. And now karma's biting you in the ass. And what do? You double down, bro. You double down. I think it's terrible. Luke Fickell extension, terrible. The amount of talent that is transferred out of Wisconsin is crazy. You just lost your offensive coordinator. He just left you to go be a head coach at Sam Houston. I want you guys to understand this. Power 4 teams are getting coordinators that are head coaches at other Power 4 schools. Chip Kelly shows up to be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State to win a national title. He said, yo, I know I'm a head coach over here, but I'd rather be an offensive coordinator for you. So when you see the elite teams of your conference hiring head coaches from the Power 4 to be coordinators, position coaches. USC hired a linebackers coach, Entz, last year from North Dakota State, the head coach at North Dakota State. They just hired him. And you're doing this shit? That's crazy, bro. That's bananas. And not a good banana. One of them bruised bananas that nobody wants to buy. That's gross, dude. You're looking at teams hiring coordinators from other Power 4 teams to be offensive. Like Luke Fickell should be hired as a defensive coordinator somewhere. Seriously. Texas should have hired him to be the defensive coordinator. Ohio State should have hired him to be. You get what I'm saying? Like that type of shit. He's not even like. You lost your offensive coordinator to Sam Houston, bro. To the Bearcats of Sam Houston. Nah. And now we're going to lock this dude in? Nah. Did you not see the amazing players that hit the transfer portal from your team? Fucking outrageous, bro. I do like 2 of their freshman running backs. I do like some of their team. Uno Mas, what up, Uno Mas? Sensei Rico, can't wait for the full team breakdowns in the summertime. Yes, you can. You're going to have to because that's going to take me a lot of time. By the way, I am going on vacation a few times this offseason. I just want you to be, I don't want to brag or nothing, but I just got back from Tampa. I spent the whole weekend on Tampa watching my amazing daughter play in her 14U AAU volleyball tournament. Shout out to the Gasparilla Nike Classic. My daughter just dominated. The highlight videos are on TikTok. You can go watch them. Shout out to my daughter, Sierra. She's a beast. If you're a college and interested in a volleyball player, let me know. GPA's on point. I don't think she's had a B in her life. Get at me. Shout out to my amazing daughter. Love her to death. It was a great time watching her. But anyways, let's get back to these breakdowns on these players because we're going to be here all night. Let's go. All right, transfer portal. I'm going to blow this up a little bit so you guys can actually see it. Bear with me. I got a scroll roll. That's a little better, right? You're probably watching this on your phone. Probably don't know. Nikhai Hale-Green. This is the guy, bro. This is the guy everybody's talking about. Let me move this out of the way. I'm sorry, I got to move boxes and drag them. I'm a one-man show, dude. I do this by myself. So, Nikhai Hale-Green. Pretty good player. Is he the number 1 linebacker in the transfer portal? Not at all. I do not think so. I think this is an inside job of people just ranking players a certain way. Is he a very good player? I think so. he's been on my radar for what, 3-4 years now. So coming out of high school, he played at what's that high school where Biff Poggi had all the kids? St. Francis. So St. Francis, Maryland, Baltimore. He's a stud out there, 4-star kid. Signs with Michigan, and he goes to Michigan. He's there for a little bit, and he spent 3 years at Michigan. 3 years at Michigan, lifting weights, learning, doing all that stuff. Transfers to Charlotte with Biff Poggi, team captain 2023, third team All-American Conference. So third team All-American. Not All-American, but All-American Athletic Conference, right? AAC. Then he transfers to Colorado. Goes to Colorado, plays pretty decent. I thought he played well. You know, it's not hard to be the best linebacker at Colorado. The rest of them dudes suck. So he played well. And next thing you know, I think he was honorable mention all conference. And now he's in the transfer portal again. So why is he going to Alabama? Well, Rico, he's that great. He's the best linebacker in the portal. No. Just stop it. Okay, just stop being disingenuous. Stop being crazy. Okay, he's going to Alabama because Tony Jones. Well, twofold. Tony Jones and Courtney Morgan. So Tony Jones is the director of player personnel at Alabama, and Courtney Morgan is the GM at Alabama. Both those guys were at Michigan when they recruited this young man. This is a relationship-driven transfer. He's following two guys who recruited him to Michigan. They now both work at Alabama. They're comfortable with him, and now they're bringing him over to Alabama. Is he the greatest linebacker in the world? No. He's going to Alabama because the guys who recruited him out of high school work over there now. It's all relationship-driven moves. Is he a good player? Hell yes. Is he better than a lot of these other linebackers? Sure. But I would say, remember, I had him ranked 3rd overall. Rico, you're saying he's not number 1. You think he sucks. You're wrong. You're no, bro. He's in my top 10 out of hundreds of players. Please stop with the bullshit. Okay? Another guy I want to talk about at Alabama is Maurice Lindquist. I believe he had a small part in recruiting Hillgreen to Michigan. Lindquist back then was on the Michigan staff before he took the Buffalo head coaching job. Okay, but he's over here teaching. He's teaching now DBs at Alabama, so that's pretty cool. High school teammates, Keon Saab, transferred from Michigan down to Alabama. Another high school teammate, Cameron Howard, also played at Charlotte with him. So this is just a big family affair. Everybody's coming back together. This is a move that's out of being comfortable, and people need to understand that he is going to be a leader on the defense. This is a good player, good kid, leads the locker room. You couldn't really compete to get him anywhere because of all those ties to the coaching staff. So shout out to him. Bangally Kamara. Bangally Kamara leaving South Carolina, going to Kansas. This is a kid from Akron, Ohio, a 3-star recruit. When I watch him on tape, he looks athletic. He played wide receiver back in high school, so it makes sense. He spent 4 seasons at Pitt, and I want to make sure people understand this. He didn't really play at South Carolina, okay? He did 4 games. He had 9 tackles, and then he quit on the team. 70 snaps. And I'm saying he quit on the team because he asked the coaching staff, can I redshirt and then come back next year? Because it was his final year of eligibility. And Shane Beamer's like, nah, bro, you can't redshirt because you're in our 2 deep. Because you're one of our best players, you're just not starting. You're not getting the playing time that you want. But you still make our team better. We still need you for special teams and maybe an occasional defensive play. He had played about 70 snaps, 7-0, through 4 games. And he's like, hey, if I redshirt, I can come back next year and be a little better. And they're saying, no, if you redshirt, you hurt our team this year. He said, well, I'm going to redshirt. I'm out of here. And he quit on the team. That's essentially how it went down. Trust me. I got sources. Now, how good is the young man? Well, he was good enough to play at Pitt, and he was a starter, and he did things. He led Pitt in tackles back in 2023. But when you lead Pitt in tackles, sometimes that just means you're better than the linebackers at Pitt. And then you transfer to South Carolina with a bunch of other Pitt transfers, right? If you guys don't remember that, all these dudes transferred from Pitt to South Carolina, and it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. You weren't better than the linebackers they had at South Carolina. It doesn't matter how many stats you had or how many tackles you had at Pitt. You're not better than these guys. So it is what it is. Okay? One thing I want to say about this young man is he's one of the few guys that I know is currently enrolled or signed an NIL deal with the revenue sharing. If you guys aren't aware, there's a court case going on where every team can share up to $22 million in revenue sharing. What does that mean? Well, it means this. Players can get paid right now. NIL, players can get paid. But technically, players can get paid from the school directly. This is why collectives and NIL deals exist. You're not an employee of the school. You're not getting your money directly from X university. It's not how it works. You're getting your money from a collective. You're getting the money from a deal, a sponsorship deal, if you will, from a company or a person that owns a company or whatever it is. And they just want to get rid of all that bullshit. Let's get rid of all the BS. Let's call it what it is. And you're getting paid from the school. So there's a legal court case right now that's saying $22 million of shared revenue. So the schools all earn a certain amount of money. And if you earn $22 million, you can spend that. They usually earn more than that, right? Let's say they earn $100 million. But they want to use $22 million every year to do revenue sharing with the players. Kamara got that revenue sharing signing with Kansas. That's kind of how they won the recruiting battle. Because they had to beat out Clemson, Illinois, Mississippi State, Purdue. I'm forgetting another school. SMU. So they had to beat everybody out, and the way they did it was they signed him to a revenue sharing deal, which is pretty cool. He's going to get some money, but how good is he? I hope he's ready to start. And Kansas went out. They addressed some of their needs, and I hope this is one of them. But just so everybody understands, what college teams are doing, the FBS elite are trying to differentiate themselves from the rest of college football. Group of 5 college football teams and things of that nature. When you hear about the scholarship limit going up to 105 from 85, all that really is they're just trying to make it more difficult to get in the club. It's more difficult. When you say 105 scholarships, that means it's a lot of money we got to put towards the football program now. We're usually only doing 85. That's what we're budgeted for. You hear about all these costs, right? You go to 105, that's 20 more scholarships. That's a significant amount of money every single year. There are teams that are on the brink of failure, maybe bankruptcy, maybe in the negative, in the red. They're not clearing the green and all this stuff. They're not going to be able to do it. And especially FCS schools who want to go become FBS, it becomes that much harder to become FBS because you go from 62 or 63 scholarships, right? 62 all the way to 105. It's an enormous gap. And that's when they tell you, oh, you need to show that you're financially capable of maintaining an FBS roster for 3 years without any other augmentation from a bowl game or TV revenue. That's what they were telling JMU for last year when they were undefeated and not going to bowl game. It's because they were saying, hey, you just got to the FBS. You got to show us that you could be financially stable without getting any revenue from championship games, conference championship games, or a bowl game. It's just an archaic way of looking at things. But everybody needs to understand, when they jump to 105 scholarships, they're just trying to raise the price of the HOA. They don't want the riffraff. They're just trying to raise the price of the HOA. That's how you can say whatever you want to say about some other shit. That's what it is. They want, trust me, all these conferences, these super conferences with 24 teams or whatever the fuck they're doing, 16, 18 teams, whatever. Trust me. The elite ones, they want to trim the fat. Oh, they want to trim the fat. The Big Ten, they want to get rid of Rutgers and Maryland. They want to trim the fat. They want to get rid of Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Purdue, all those teams at the bottom because they're dragging their revenue. Trust. It's reality, a situation. No matter how good you play on the field, you don't make enough money for them. Anyways, I'll get off that tangent. Brad Spence. Shout out to Brad Spence leaving Arkansas, going to Texas. If you guys watch the channel, you know Brad Spence was my hidden gem going into this season. Brad Spence only started like one game his freshman year, and I didn't care. I said, oh, that guy's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be a stud. He's in the rotation. I think he's going to be a stud. When I watch him on tape, let me tell you something about Brad Spence. And you can quote me and never forget this. I've never seen Brad Spence miss a tackle. I watched all his games. If he's missed a tackle, that's news to me. I'm telling you. I watch plays. I'm watching him, and I do tally marks on different things. I'm looking for pressures, rushes, the coverage. I do a bunch of evaluation on players, and I go and watch a game, and I specifically look for them. No one else. I just look for that one player on every single play. I've never seen Brad Spence miss a tackle. And if PFF or any of those places, they keep track of that kind of stat and they found it, I'm one man. I might have missed. I might have blinked. I might have missed his missed tackle on a special teams or something. I don't know. But I've never seen him miss a tackle. I love Brad Spence. I think he's easily one of the best linebackers in the transfer portal. I think I have him at number 2. I think he's an amazing player. I do. And shout out to Texas. They're going to put him in that rotation with Anthony Hill, the Lion dude, Leona LaFoot, whatever his name is. I call him the Lion. And then obviously David Benda's gone. So it's just one of those things where I think he's a superstar in the making. I'm keeping it real. Brad Spence, complete stud. Love that kid. Love his tape. Landyn Watson, don't know what he's doing up here. This doesn't make sense to me. This ranking at this point, it's silly. Landyn Watson should not be up here, but he's signed with Kentucky, so you think he's up here. Don't know what that's about. I've watched him a lot, and I don't get it. He signed with Kentucky. I don't even think it's a good transfer. Excuse me. I think I have to sneeze. Anyways, they increased his rating. You see this T here? They increased his rating because he signed with Kentucky. I don't see it. I think it's a bad transfer. I don't think he's a star. And you guys can clip it. It'll come back to this in a year, and I'll be right. And we'll just make a whole video of I told you so. And shout out to Connor. He'll make it happen. He'll remind me. But I'm telling you, Landyn Watson is not the guy for me. 1 year of eligibility left. He's played a little bit. Coming out of high school, he was going to go to where was he going to go? LSU. He had committed to LSU coming out of high school. And then Gary Patterson flipped him to go to TCU. And then Gary Patterson left, and he stayed at TCU. Never played a down for TCU. There's a guy who couldn't start at TCU. Then he transfers to Marshall. Couldn't start at Marshall the next year. And then last year, he finally becomes a starter. And he gets 64 tackles. He's a tweener, man. I don't know if he's a guy that should be dropping into coverage, an off linebacker, or if he's an edge rusher. I don't know what he is. He's a tweener, and he finally got to play last year. But I'm watching a guy who couldn't start at TCU. Rico, he just needs to be developed and all this stuff. Okay, man. 1 year of eligibility left, and you go to Kentucky. This isn't some all-conference superstar. I watch Marshall football a lot. We watch it, MVPs. We watch it. If you don't know, I'm a capper. I watch every fucking game. And we live stream them. I watch them with hundreds of people watching with me. Landyn Watson is not on my radar like that. And he's going to the SEC. That's a bad signing. By him and the team. Maybe the team gets better with him. Because he improves their linebacker room somehow, some way. They need depth. They need player. But this is not... He should have went to Southern Miss. With the whole coaching staff. He should have went to Southern Miss. That's the caliber of player I see him at. And I think Southern Miss is going to be great. Kentucky's not going to be great. Kentucky, that's going to be a rough one for Kentucky. Holy shit. Xavier Atkins, leaving LSU, going to Auburn. You see him ranked up here? Okay. Shout out to you. Let's talk about DJ Durkin. DJ Durkin, Texas A&M defensive coordinator. When Xavier Atkins was coming out of high school, he played at Humble, Texas. He goes to LSU for 1 year, and now he's headed to Auburn. This is a young man ranked really high out of high school. DJ Durkin wanted him at Texas A&M. Didn't win. Didn't get him. So now he's coming over to Auburn with DJ Durkin. He just moved over. He's the new defense coordinator over here. I think it's a good signing. It's like coming over with your Louis luggage. It's fine. I'm not excited to see him ranked ahead of somebody like Elijah Herring. Right? Like, this guy's never played a day in his life, and Elijah Herring down here led Tennessee in tackles 2 years ago. What are we doing? Like, it's just silly to see dudes who've never seen the field at all ranked ahead of guys who have led entire SEC teams in tackles. Like, it's just dumb. That's embarrassing. Whoever does these rankings at 24/7, I know it's just got to be an intern or something. It's got to be somebody. It can't be somebody who's there consistently all year long. Like, that's just crazy. It's embarrassing almost. But shout out to him, Xavier Atkins, going to Auburn. He might get in the rotation. They lost a ton of linebackers. They're so young at linebacker. 4 guys gone. I know Asante's gone. That kid, Mousy, the kid from Duke, gone. Key's gone. And one more is gone. I forget his name. So, he's a Samoan kid. Goatee. He got a goatee. Goatee. I don't know how they say it. Stefon Thompson going to Florida State. I want to say something about this. Florida State, congratulations. You actually went out and recruited linebackers that have production versus potential. They got Stefon Thompson and Elijah Herring. Both these linebackers, for me, are what I would look for in the transfer portal. So Tony White is the new defensive coordinator at Florida State. Tony White coming over from, drumroll please, Nebraska. So he's the defensive coordinator coming over from Nebraska at Florida State. And he brings over a young man in Stefon Thompson who only started one game last year. He did play in 11 games, but he only started one game last year for Nebraska. How or why, I don't know. When he was in the game, when he's on the field, I know he's one of the better players. I'm being real. Nebraska's entire head coach, or not head coach, and Nebraska's entire coaching staff, really, I really struggle with it. Because they got players not seeing the field that are good. There was Stefon Thompson and James Williams, who also went to Florida State with their defensive coordinator. Both these dudes are good, man. You guys are going to see it. Florida State's defense is going to be good. And I haven't done a full assessment on the team this offseason. But the defense, the players look good. You've got linebackers coming in a room with Justin Cryer coming back. What are we doing? Jaden Parrish, Blake Nicholson, or whatever his name is, Sean Murphy. They got players, bro. I'm with it. So Stefon Thompson, if you guys don't know who he is, he's just a complete stud. I believe he started at Syracuse, 21 starts at Syracuse before he transferred to Nebraska. I talked about Stefon Thompson last year when he transferred from Syracuse to Nebraska, and I thought he's a pretty good player. Played in 36 games while at Syracuse. Good player. Good get for Florida State. Jeremiah Alexander, going from Alabama to Clemson. One of those few signings from Clemson. Everybody's going to celebrate it. All right. Jeremiah Alexander, former five-star. Five-star player. And in 1 year, they go and move him to 3 stars. I think that's disingenuous. I think that's ridiculous. Why? Because he didn't sign with an SEC team? So now he's only 3 stars? It's been 2 years. He played at Thompson. They won the state title back in 2021. He played with Peter Woods. Shout out to Peter Woods. Jeremiah Alexander, Peter Woods, leaders of that defense. They won the state title, and now they're both at Clemson, which is pretty cool. But, I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now, linebackers are loaded at Clemson, so I don't even understand the move. Again, I understand that he's a good player, and he wants to only go to premier schools. Tom Allen is the new defensive coordinator for Clemson, coming over from Penn State. Yeah, Penn State's defensive coordinator, he left, bro. And he's great. And he just left. But this is a young man that was injured. He missed the first 3 games of the year due to injury, and then he had to try to bounce back and do some great things. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't. If you're Clemson, you're only signing good players. I believe he's probably a good young man. I believe he's probably a good locker room guy. And they probably got rave reviews about him as a leader and a good young man. I just hope he's good enough to see the field for it to be ranked ahead of Elijah Herring. Like, we're tripping, bro. Elijah Herring? So, Elijah Herring, if you guys don't know the deal, Elijah Herring leaving Memphis, going to Florida State. This is obviously an upgrade for him. He played in 11 games at Memphis last year. He missed 2 games with an injury. It is what it is. Finished the season with 60 tackles. Elijah Herring is a good football player. When he was at Tennessee, and he was at Tennessee for 2 seasons, he was on the bench. He was a backup. And then they had an injury to the starter. He filled in, and he led the team in tackles, 2023. And at the end of the year, they told him, hey, man, we're not going to start you next year. Just so you know, you're going to have to go back to the bench. He only got to start because of an injury. He's like, cool, hit the portal. And he signed with Memphis. Love the signing. And seeing him now going to Florida State, you got to understand why this is such a good thing. And this is because Tony White, the new defensive coordinator, just came over from Nebraska. He runs a 3-3-5 defense. Elijah Herring just got done playing in a 3-3-5 defense at Memphis. He just has to learn how Tony White runs it. He just has to learn his terminology, the verbiage, right? The lexicon, if you will. But he knows how to play in a 3-3-5 defense. I think this is a match made in heaven. A really good move for Elijah Herring, and I hope he can play at Florida State. I hope they like him a lot. Seriously. Fisher Camac, Camac, how you say it, bro? How you say it? I went back and watched his high school huddle tape, bro. I really did. They gave him only 2 stars coming out of high school, and they don't know what they're doing. He played high school ball in Arizona, and I went and watched him. I mean, he's 6'7", 250. He's a pass rusher. But he moves so well. He's got great speed. Now, don't get too caught up in his stats. He had 7.5 sacks this season. Go turn on the tape. He had 3 in the bowl game against Cal, who, by the way, Cal had the worst offensive line in the FBS. I'm not joking. His statistics don't lie. Cal had the worst offensive line in the FBS, and he demolished them in the bowl game, 3 sacks. But even in the championship game against Boise State, you go turn on that tape. I watched it yesterday. Just wanted to watch his plays and just watch him against Boise State, who I knew was a playoff team. He played great. He played great. He proved to me that he can play at any level. Now, why did he pick Virginia? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. His high school tape, he looks like an athlete. Like, he looks like he has more speed for somebody of his size than he should. He looks like he'd be a great tight end. But I don't know why he picked Virginia. He had other offers. There were other schools interested in him, and he chose Virginia. That blew me away, bro. It really did. I was like, yo, what is this? Like, Virginia has won on the offensive line a few times. They got 3 good offensive linemen in the transfer portal, and now they win in this one. That impressed me a little bit. Because I know other teams offered this young man, like West Coast teams. I'm serious. I know Arizona State offered him. Why you don't play for a playoff team? Stanford, Arizona State, maybe Utah, UCLA, Pitt, Purdue. Obviously, Purdue, his old coaching staff wanted him. And he's going to Virginia? I don't know. I don't know what that's about. All right, so we're going to talk about these other 2 Kansas linebackers. Remember, Kansas got a linebacker up here in Bangally Kamara. And then they got 2 other linebackers. They're trying to address their linebackers. But Trey Lathan, 3rd leading tackler at West Virginia. And if you watch Trey Lathan on tape, oh my God. He's the worst in coverage. The worst in coverage. The dude can rush the quarterback. But he's only 6'1", 226. He should be in coverage. He should be doing things. It's just backwards the way he played. Like, I don't know. Feels like a tweener, and I don't know how I feel about the signing, but he does play football. Plays football on Saturdays, and he makes tackles. And I love production, so I'm cool with Trey Lathan. You got a guy. But I'm going to skip Nahji Logan real quick, and I'm going to talk about Joseph Sipp here. Joseph Sipp, leaving Bowling Green, is his damn twin brother, bro. I'm not saying they all look alike. I'm saying these 2 guys look alike. And I ain't talking about their profile pic. I'm talking about on the field. They're both undersized, tweener type dudes, 6 foot, 225. They both they're a liability in coverage. They just are. But they're good pass rushers. And they're good football players. So I don't know how to feel about it. I'm assuming Kansas wanted to find a specific role, and they evaluated all the linebackers, and these dudes ended up really close to one another in their evaluation. So they just signed both of them. That's how I feel. Like, there's no other way to justify it. They signed the same guy. Kansas signed the same guy, Joseph Sipp and Trey Lathan. I can't imagine they need both of those guys on the field at the same time. I do trust Lance Leopold and their defense to identify, like, how they're going about things. I like, they're going to know how to put these guys in position to be successful and good. But I don't know. Now, Trey is versatile. He was supposed to be the starting wheel linebacker, but remember, Trotter got injured, right? Where's Trotter? Oh, I don't even have him up here yet. Oh, he's on the other list. Josiah Trotter gets injured, so then they move him to the Mike. So if you don't know, will linebacker, weak side linebacker, typically a guy who's in coverage on the weak side, can run sideline to sideline, things like that. Mike linebacker, middle linebacker. Typically somebody who's a run stopper, kind of leader of the defense, things like that. And then you have a Sam linebacker, which is the strong side linebacker, typically lined up over the tight end. And he can help stop the run and set the edge, things like that. So nowadays, all linebackers are interchangeable. Most defenses are running a 4-2-5. There's a whole lot of shit going on. But that's traditionally how linebackers work and their breakdown. So when I tell you he was supposed to be the starting will and he moved over to the Mike, it's not the end of the world. Now, he did play. He went down with an injury at some point. He missed like 5 games, but still, He was bad in coverage, man. And you can blame the coordinator if you want. That's fine. But at some point, we got to hold the players accountable too, right? Nahji Logan, leaving Indiana, going to Nevada. You see all these schools up here. You see all these Power 4 schools. And you're like, yo, why is this guy ranked up here and he's going to Nevada? Why is he ranked ahead of some of these other guys? Well, number one, I'll tell you, I don't know why he's ranked that high. I just don't. I don't know why they gave him an extra star when he's transferring. Nahji Logan was one of the leading tacklers at UMass 2 years ago. 2023. Leading tackler at UMass. Pretty cool guy. I actually liked him. I thought he was a hidden gem. I thought it was cool that he was trying to go to Indiana and contribute to that linebacker room. And he got there. He's 6'3", 226. He seems like he has ideal size, ideal speed, ideal everything. He gets there and he finds out real quick, like, yo, Indiana, they're about to win 11 games. And they don't need my ass. They don't need me at all. So he redshirts because he was never going to see the field. 1 year of eligibility left, and now he's got to go replace Drue Watts, who's a grown man. He's got to go replace Drue Watts in Nevada, and I hope he does to the best of his ability. But I don't know, man. This is a guy, he's not bad. It's just he found out there's levels to this. He got to Indiana. Who's at Indiana? Linebackers. Aiden Fisher. Jalen Walker. I'm telling you, I'm so hyped on Indiana's linebacker room that when he was, who else is there? I know Isaiah Jones, Jalen Walker, Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones. Two younger guys. The small kid from Florida, he's only like 6 feet tall. I forget his name. And then Utzinger, the bigger guy. Yeah. So they're pretty cool. Good luck to Nevada there. And then I'm going to talk about two more guys, and then I'm going to go back to the chat. So Joseph Sipp, like I told you, a twin to Lathan there, leaving Bowling Green. He's been playing at Bowling Green a whole ton. He did have 7.5 sacks last year. Out of high school, this kid was going to go to Colorado State, and then he flipped to Bowling Green. Go up in the MAC and do your thing. By the way, when I went to go watch film on Joseph Sipp, specifically for this episode, I was watching film on him yesterday. And when I was watching the film, can I tell you how impressed I was of the other linebacker? His name is Brock Horn. Brock Horn. Now, for whatever reason, I just wasn't paying attention. Brock Horn's in the NFL draft. I thought he was good, man. I'm telling you guys, I thought he was good. I'm going to put him on my hidden gem list. I'm going to look into it a little more. I don't know if he makes it in the NFL. I don't know what they're looking for in the NFL. I just thought he was a good player. Brock Horn, another linebacker at Bowling Green, by the way, going to the NFL. But Joseph Sipp here, good player. Going to see him at Kansas. We're going to see what happens. They signed 3 linebackers. They obviously needed help in the linebacker room. We'll see what happens. All right. Last guy, this boy Glass. Carmycah? Carmycah? Somebody's getting mad at me. Don't tell me that I'm supposed to know how to pronounce this first word for his first name. It's not written anywhere else in no book I've ever read. Mr. Glass here, 6'4", 240. Shout out to him. He's also from a place in Louisiana, Monroe. What is it called? The Parish. I can't say it, bro. I should have called Ochachita. I know it's not that. I know it's something else. I should have called Kim. Oh man, y'all know what I'm talking about. Oucachita, some shit like that. Man, somebody schooled me to the game. I don't know. So Glass here, he signed with Missouri out of high school. Goes to Missouri, doesn't play, gets injured, I believe. And then he was there for like 2 years. So he redshirts. He has a injury redshirt, medical redshirt, if you will. And then he transfers to the Raging Cajun. Plays good. And now he's going to Houston. Shout out to Houston. They kind of have a pipeline for Louisiana players. Willie Fritz, obviously former head coach in the Sun Belt, Tulane head coach, got hired to be the head coach at Houston. And he slowly keeps siphoning the best players from the Raging Cajun over to Houston. And they're close in proximity, or they're close in geography. And so it makes sense. I guess Houston needs his help. Doesn't look like a bad move. Congratulations to him. But Harvey Broussard, I believe he's a wide receiver. The third, Harvey Broussard coming over. And then Zion Chris came over last year. It's the quarterback. Didn't work out. I think Chris is not a good quarterback, but it is what it is. But shout out to him moving over to Houston. Fills a need and does his thing. So before I get into these linebackers, the committed ones, which are blows my mind that these guys are ranked so high. Let me fix my my screen here, and I can go back to the chat for you guys. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. Thanks for being here again tonight. Get your questions in. I will get to you. I promise. Let's go back and interact with the chat. Where is this? Boom. All right. So we're here. Interact. I think Shane Beamer did the right thing kicking Bangally off the team for quitting on his teammates. You know, it's not necessarily a right or a wrong. It's just a prerogative. It's the way you want to run things. You know, if you guys, has anybody ever played NCAA 2000? 2025? I don't know. I haven't played the newest NCAA. But back in the day, when I played NCAA, I would redshirt every single player that was eligible to redshirt. And I would just try to win with whatever was left. Right? It's a video game. I would redshirt everybody because I knew that their ratings would go up if they redshirted. So I'm just going to maximize everybody's potential and redshirt. Now, in real life, if you know every player is going to get bigger, stronger, and faster if they redshirt, that might be true, but you can't afford to do that. Could Ohio State afford to redshirt Jeremiah Smith and still win the national title? No. And if they redshirted him to maximize his potential, that would have been cool and everything, but he probably hit the transfer portal. Or Ryan Day loses, doesn't make the playoffs, and they get fired. So when real jobs are on the line, the number one rule is to have your best 85 at all times, right? Have your best 60 for every single game in college football. Have your best guys available. So when you know a young man can make your team marginally better in any way, shape, or form, if you're in any of my sets, in any of my schemes, my sets, my rotations, if you're on any of my special teams, and you're one of my best 11 and you're on the field, you don't get to redshirt. I need you. I need you to be better. Now, it might be selfish of the coach, right? It's going to ruin your career because you waste a year of your eligibility only playing 13 plays or 80 plays. He had 80 plays in 4 games. That means he's going to finish the season with 240 plays. That wasn't enough for him. He wants 600. That's selfish. So coach says, "Hey man, I need everybody on the field at all times. We're not here. I'm not going to have you redshirt here." That's another thing. Am I going to have you redshirt and then you go play for someone else? I already talked about that. We had a tight end do that. We had a tight end and an offensive lineman do that. I think it was an offensive lineman who did it for Arkansas. And he told coach, "I'm a hog through and through." He told Pittman that. Coach said, "All right, we'll let you redshirt so you can recover, and we won't use you this year." Coach said, "I don't want you to redshirt so you can go play for somebody else, though. You're not redshirting for somebody else." No, I'm redshirting for you guys. I'm a hog through and through. As soon as the transfer portal opened, dude was gone. So these coaches got a hard decision and they got a hard job. You want to redshirt players for development and things like that, but if you got a guy in your rotation, you just transferred him in. I need you to get on the field, bro. What are you doing? So, yeah, I don't know if it's the right move or what the move is, but moves happen. Shout out to Shane Beamer. Connor Formia says, "Tony Jones, director of player personnel at Bama, is my very good friend." Oh, shout out to you, Formia. I was wife and daughter going to Alabama, and Rico is totally spot on. Hill Green is relationship driven. Yo! Shout out to you, Connor Formia. Hey, man, sometimes I just guess right? Sometimes I'm just guessing. Shout out to you, man. That's awesome. I had no clue. Marcus Watson-Trent needs more respect. Oh, he needs more respect. Yeah, people need to put some respect on his name. That's one of the best signings. I don't want to see this Deshaun McCullough shit that I'm about to talk to you guys about right now. Marcus Watson-Trent is the real signing for Nebraska. Believe that. Understand that. And please listen to me, guys. Please listen to me. I'm going to be right. Again. Thoughts on Jeff Oklahoma State? What position, Easton? 6'7" as a linebacker is crazy. Oh, he's not in this episode. I have not reviewed his tape or his. Obviously, I know who he is. I have like 15,000 players in my mind. What I'm saying is I haven't reviewed it to the point where I can discuss his impact at Oklahoma State. So I'd have to look at Oklahoma State's depth chart, his connections to the coaching staff, his production or lack thereof, and I'll go from there. I don't get excited because you're a 6'7" linebacker. That just doesn't Doesn't move me like that. I hear 6'7" and they write a linebacker. You're just an edge rusher. Now, is it that crazy? No, it's not, right? So I gotta go watch the tape, pay attention, stuff like that. Next destination, how does that work? All right, so Lavarn, it typically works one way, and that is the players are still enrolled. They're just enrolled at their previous school. So they got to stay academically eligible, so they will have enrolled in at least, I think, 12 credits at their previous school. They're still lifting weights. They're still going to school. They're going to finish their degrees. Now, if they're graduate transfers, I believe they have until the next semester. And there's also different start times for certain semesters, and there are 12 schools on quarters systems. So there are 12 FBS schools that are on quarters systems. You can start before the spring quarter. They just can't play spring football. It's the big deal with transferring early is you get in with your new team and you get to play spring football. What's the point of transferring if you're not a spring football player, right? The JUCO guys, if they're May graduates, and a lot of players are graduates in May, they're currently enrolled at their previous school, even if it says committed. You see all these guys committed right here? Well, you're going to see them coming up on the list. It says committed but not enrolled. They're gonna enroll, but they're going to enroll as graduate transfers, but they got to wait and finish this semester at their previous school. That's why they're not enrolled. So, but yeah, that's all it is. They're fine. Anybody still in the portal has to remain academically eligible, and that's why a lot of them are enrolling in JUCOs right now and things like that. Shout out to you. Most recruiting websites always rank players too high. That's why most 5-stars don't live up to the hype the websites give them. Yeah, I don't know about most. I don't know how many recruiting websites there are. I only consider 3, but I guess there's 4 if you count Rivals and ESPN, On 3 and 24/7. I just don't put any value in their ratings. I want to make this clear. I don't think their ratings are too high or too low. I ignore the stars. Like, I don't even know what the ratings are when I'm doing my evaluation. My evaluation has no stars in it. I just move players around on my chart. I think that 4 or 5 stars is not enough delineation from each other. Like, I think it should be a scale from 1 to 10. And there should be players that are worth 10 and 9.9 and 9.8 and 9.7, 9.6. That's why they have this number next to their names. But the stars is what they talk about. But how big of a deal is it? Like, if you're a 4 or 5 star player, it's really not a big deal anymore. I'm telling you, I'm watching a center right now. There's a center out there. He's Langston Hogg. He's a 2026 kid. They got him 3 stars because he don't have the right height. Because he's only 6'2". They got him 3 stars. He's a 5-star player. He's better than everybody. He's got offers from every school in America. He's a 5-star player. But they're giving him 3 stars. They don't know what they're doing. They just have rules. It's stupid. They have stupid rules. And this is why players like this Khmori House kid that's about to come up. He was a 3-star kid coming out of high school. 3 stars. Because he was 6 foot, 213 pounds. And now that he's magically signing with North Carolina, he's one of the top 5 linebackers in the country in the transfer portal. It's disgusting. And then you have Deshaun McCullough, 6'5", 235. Coming out of high school, 0.91 rating, 4 stars, blah, 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 blah. It's like, nah, dude, what are we doing? We're just ranking guys based upon certain metrics. If they went to your camp or your school, it's pointless, man. And there's really no solution to it because they've monetized it, right? You have to go to camps to get stars. Coaches are telling you to come to their camps to get the stars, to get the offers. And then they go and sign 20 dudes from the transfer portal. So did their camp even fucking matter? Like, seriously, why are we going to camps if we're not signing the players from the camps? They signed 12 to 13 high school players. They don't even sign the kids from the camps that even went there. So it's just a big money grab. All the camp money they made, it just goes to the coaches' bonuses. You guys are supporting universities by going to their camps, and nobody's signing you from that camp. It's dumb. I don't want to get into all this. They've monetized the entire recruitment process. And look, man, I'm not innocent. Somebody will say, Rico, you do high school film reviews. Let me tell you guys something. You can get a high school film review for me for $50. And not only will I do a high school film review and get your video in front of thousands of people, I will then go on Twitter and advocate for you 8 hours a day for the next 6 months. for free, no additional charge. I'm just doing it just as a proof of concept to show you that I have traction in recruiting and I can get you an offer. That's what I'm doing it for. It's to feed my ego. I don't give a shit about nobody or nothing. I'm just doing it to feed my ego. Okay. I got a kid telling me, I'll pay you $1,000 if you can offer me a scholarship. If you can guarantee me a scholarship, $1,000. Where did he come up with that? Somebody's told that to him before. Somebody's selling these kids the pipe dream. And it's gross. And it's gross, bro. Tired of this shit. No, he's going to Minnesota from Oklahoma State and the 6'7" linebacker you talked about already. Oh, thank you. Oh, I get what you're saying now. I misunderstood your whole thing, Easton. Those are two different comments broken apart. My bad. I know you just moved to South Carolina, but just wondering if you know any South Carolina high school teams, because I'm from South Carolina and played at Woodmont. So this is so funny, right? So I lived in Georgia for the last 10 years. I know Georgia high school football better than any state in America. And I grew up in California, and I knew every California team in the CIF, and I knew California high school football better than anything. I was a sports writer in California, for crying out loud. Cal High Sports was my bag. I just know everything about the CIF, all the way back to Santa Margarita and Tustin, and Carson Palmer against Deshaun Foster, and I remember Mike McNair at Mater Dei, and I remember a number of things. Ike back in 1993, Eisenhower winning the national title. This was where I played football, so I knew that so well. And then I moved to Georgia, and I remember just sitting down one day and saying, I'm going to learn Georgia high school football. I'm going to learn all 400 teams. And I did. And I became an expert on Georgia high school football. I spent hours upon hours. And at this time, I wasn't doing this professionally. I was actually doing, I'm going to look for something real quick. I was in the Army. I was doing it as a hobby. And one day, I got serious about this. I'm trying to find a certain book that I have here. I'm going to find it. I'm sure I'm going to find it. Unless I got rid of it. I couldn't have gotten rid of it. There's no way I got rid of it. There is a way, though. Georgia high school football. It's possible I got rid of it. That's a damn shame if I did. I don't see it. It's probably, it would be something I'd look for offline, unfortunately. Maybe I just found it. I just clicked in a random. I have so many different books. Look at this shit, y'all. No, it's not here. This is some other stuff. Dang it. I wanted to surprise you guys with the really good stuff. And that is, I used to keep track of Georgia high school sports. So now I live in South Carolina, and I have to learn about all the different high school teams here in South Carolina. Unfortunately, I don't know them off the top of my head, and I haven't learned them to even be able to speak on them intelligently. I don't know how the playoff structure, the division structure. I don't know any of the teams. I'm aware of who are good teams because I know good players. I do high school film reviews for good players. I know who the good players are. I know Rock Hill's a good area for high school. I know Spartanburg, a good area for high school. I know different cities in South Carolina. I obviously know Orangeburg and Columbia, and I know everybody on the coast. I just know. I know the state, but it's not the same. Right? You want to know every high school and know every player the way I did for Georgia. So it'll take me some time, but I don't know who else I could talk about in that regard. So shout out to you, Jacoby. I probably need to work on that. All right, let me go back to the list and talk to you guys about the rest of these linebackers, and then we'll wrap up the show. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Shout out to TikTok if you're watching. Move over to YouTube. You can ask me questions. I'll answer it and everything. You just got to put it over there, and we'll go. So I wanted to talk about the top-rated players that are now committed to schools, and the first one is Khmori House. Khmori House is not a bad football player. He's just not the number one linebacker in the transfer portal, the way they have him depicted here. Khmori House is a 6', 213-pound kid from Bellflower, California. But he was a 3-star coming out of high school. And like I said, he goes to Washington, and he has 35 tackles as a freshman. 35 tackles, not bad. He offers positional versatility. That's what I'm going to say. He can play a number of positions. He looks fast. on tape. I'm watching him. He's just moving faster than any other linebacker. So I understand the speed is there. But to see him be a 4-star ahead of players like Kendall Daniels, to see him ahead of Kendall Daniels is silly. Absolutely silly. Kendall Daniels is an NFL linebacker. This is dumb. To see him ahead of Kendall Daniels, Josiah Trotter, who just was second at West Virginia in tackles. He shouldn't be ahead of any of these guys down here. Jacob Manu, first team All Pac-12 in 2013 or 2023. There's your boy Andrew Jones. So as you go down the list, yes, there's not a lot of great linebackers, but Drew Watts is so much better than Khmori House when you watch tape. Boom Jock, Sam Brumfield, these are real players. And it's no shade at this young man. This young man has all the potential in the world. But what are we doing? Are we ranking these guys on what they look like? I don't understand. I don't get the intent at all. So that's just real. Congratulations to North Carolina. You got yourselves a linebacker you wanted. I hope he's ready to be a starter. I will say this. I don't think North Carolina is bringing in players that don't make their locker room better. But he just doesn't come across as a Bill Belichick kind of guy. And I don't know how else to say that. He just doesn't. I've known Bill Belichick type of players for 20 years. Didn't come across as a Bill Belichick kind of guy. Didn't. Okay. Deshaun McCullough. I would have never signed this kid. So shout out to him. 6'5", 235, going to Nebraska, leaving Oklahoma. 2022, he was at Indiana, coming out of high school. And if you guys don't know why he picked Indiana, I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm just going to tell you, congratulations to him, but I don't know what we're doing here. All right. So Deshaun McCullough comes from an extremely athletic family. His brother plays football as well. His brother's a highly ranked defensive back, and he actually went to Oklahoma, and that's why he was going to Oklahoma. His brother's since transferred, and now Deshaun's transferring, and he's going to Nebraska. But why did he start his career at Indiana? Well, his dad, Dylan McCullough, who used to play in the NFL. He was a fringe NFL guy. He's the current running backs coach at Notre Dame. And he's an associate head coach over there as well. Well, he was at Indiana. He got hired in Indiana to be an associate head coach. So this was back before the kids were getting paid and everything. What I'm trying to tell you is Indiana paid for this kid to go there. They just paid his dad a salary. They hired him on the staff. I hate any coaching staff hiring a parent of a player and putting him in any position. I just don't like it. I don't like you hiring his high school coach. I don't like you hiring his parents, family members, his uncle, just to get him to sign. That's some basketball bullshit. We've seen it a number of times. It's just, and it doesn't work out because the kid he's not committed to you. He's just there because his dad's getting paid. And then dad leaves, so then he leaves. And he wasn't that great at Oklahoma. I'm just being real. He missed the first 5 games of the year due to injury because he was injured in the fall. And then he played the next 7 games, and I'm like, okay. And the year before that, he only had 30 tackles at Oklahoma. He's never looked the 5-star, 4-star kid they make him out to be. Does he have the right size? Sure. He looks special, all this shit. But I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So first thing I'll say is Oklahoma's losing a number of linebackers. I'm going to talk about another one they're losing down here, Carter. Where's he at? Lewis Carter. Leaving Oklahoma, going to UCF. I'm going to go off on that. But, the other linebacker they're losing is Picotti or some shit like that. The other kid, he's also going to UCF, which is crazy. So shout out to McCullough for going to Nebraska. But like I said, I'm more impressed with the kid from Georgia Southern, Lewis Trent. I just can't get down with this one. I just can't. So it is what it is. You had to sign somebody. Sign him. Kendall Daniels is the prized possession of the entire transfer portal. He's number 1 or 2 for me from linebackers. Kendall Daniels and Josiah Trotter are both 1A, 1B guys for me. Kendall Daniels leaving Oklahoma State. This is a young man that had over 100 tackles 2 years ago. This is a guy who was a safety. He was 6'4", 200 pounds coming out of high school. He was a safety. And then he put on some weight, and now he's a linebacker. So he's got safety speed, and he's a linebacker. But he's an Oklahoma kid. Number one prospect coming out of Oklahoma in high school. He was first offered by Oklahoma before Oklahoma State. In 2019, he had an offer from Oklahoma, and he still didn't sign with Oklahoma. He said, no, I'm going to go to Oklahoma State. I'm going to go play for these dudes who rep this state. He's always been a beast. I like everything about him. His tape is fast. He looks good. I know people were disappointed in what he did last year, but I just want to tell you, like, you go from 100 tackles down to 64 the next year. A lot of that has to do with the fact that your offense was not good enough. Like, everything about your team was just bad, right? When I look on tape for Oklahoma State, they got two players that really stick out to me. Nick Martin, the linebacker. I think he's an NFL caliber linebacker. He should be drafted. I would draft him. And then Kendall Daniels, the other guy. So they were both just complete studs. So he's going to Oklahoma. Oklahoma got themselves probably one of the best players out there. I think he's great. And to see him ranked below Deshaun McCullough is laughable to me. Absolutely laughable. I don't care that the ratings are the same. Like, they should fix that to where he's never below him. He shouldn't be below Khmori House or anybody, really. Kendall Daniels is the real deal. Nikhai Bayer. You might know Nikhai Bayer. He also was a Nebraska linebacker. He's fourth on the team in tackles. Could have probably had more, but he was ejected. If you watch the game against Colorado, I was watching it on TikTok live today while I was doing research for this episode. That's a guy who decided to throw a forearm at Shedeur Sanders' head and get ejected for targeting. So just an aggressive guy. Not a bad player. I think he's got a lot of experience. He's been playing for a while. He spent 4 years, I believe, at Nebraska. So he's going to Missouri to fill a need. And Missouri signed some good linebackers, obviously him and Trotter. So I think it's a decent signing. Not bad. Good player. And you want to find experienced players like this. He looks like a one-for-one swap for Corey Flagg. Corey Flagg, the former Miami starting linebacker who had to transfer and actually had a pretty decent season last year after I thought Corey Flagg wouldn't do shit. So he's going to replace Corey Flagg, and he looks very similar to Corey Flagg on tape and in size and stature and everything. So sounds like a good move there. Congratulations. Justin went back. He's going back to South Carolina, withdrew from the portal. Darion Gillette leaving Texas, going to Mississippi State. If you want to look at this from a recruiting standpoint, this is phenomenal for Mississippi State. Darion Gillette was a 4-star player coming out of high school. The nerve of them, after 1 year at Texas, lifting weights, getting bigger, stronger, and faster, being taught by the best defensive staff out there, they go and drop his rating because he's transferring to Mississippi State. Bullshit, man. This is still a 4-star player. It's just a year later after redshirting. He didn't get to play at Texas. Got it. He's still 6'3", 235, and can play. I think it's pretty cool. They need to develop him and keep him at Mississippi State. He's a stud. Turned down a bunch of schools, bunch of offers. I don't know why he chose Mississippi State, but I don't blame him, and I thought he made a good decision. And if he can't play at Mississippi State, then he needs to go down in competition, go back and sign with UTSA, North Texas, wherever he wants to go at a Group of 5 school. But right now, I'm disappointed in the websites for lowering a young kid's ranking 6 months after he just spent 6 months at, or a year at a particular college, lifting weights, getting bigger, stronger, faster, and you lower his ranking. I think it's dumb. Caleb Perry, I see him starting for Louisville. I see Caleb Perry starting for Louisville, being in the starting lineup or in the rotation at least. This is a young man that spent many years at Tennessee in the rotation, even started a few games for them. I don't know how or why Kentucky didn't sign this kid. I don't know how they don't win that. You're signing other scrubs. You're signing the kid, not scrubs. Let me rephrase. You're signing a linebacker from Marshall, who's not nearly as good as Caleb Perry. Kentucky, you got to win that recruiting battle. Caleb Perry played high school ball in Georgetown, Kentucky. That is right outside Lexington. Like, there's no way you don't sign him. He should. Caleb Perry could have went. I thought he was going to go to Cincinnati too. But he's going to Louisville, and I think he's in the rotation. I think it's a good get for Louisville to find a good linebacker like that. So Caleb Perry can play football. Experienced guy, and he can play. Josiah Trotter, gem, stud. Dad obviously played in the NFL for many, many years. Josiah Trotter's brother played at Clemson. This is a young man that was going to be the starter at West Virginia as a freshman. And you guys got to know what he did coming out of high school. He was a stud linebacker coming out of high school, and everybody wanted him. He had offers from everyone. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, everybody. And they said, why did you choose West Virginia? And he said it in an interview. I went and found it. He said, well, I chose them because a lot of schools want you, but you need to go where you're needed, not just where you're liked. It's a phenomenal insight, right? Phenomenal insight. And I think it's just an awesome thing to say and really believe in for this young man. I think that the way he carries himself is that of a winner. Straight winner. Missed the whole season due to injury. Comes back this year, second on the team in tackles. Complete stud. West Virginia's going to have a hard time replacing him. They got Chase Wilson from Colorado State. I like it, but Josiah Trotter's good, man. I like him. He's the bee's knees. I think he's an NFL caliber guy. I just like everything he does. I hope Missouri develops him and gives him all the opportunities to be great. And then we get to Lewis Carter. People ask me about Lewis Carter all the time. Literally all the time. And if you knew, oh boy, if you knew a girl was a cheater, chronic cheater, would you date her? Like, no, let's not do chronic cheater. Let's do let me tell you guys a true story. I was talking to this girl online, and I was like, yo, I can't wait to meet you or whatever. And she's like, yeah, I stay over here. I'm doing this, doing that, doing this. I'm like, okay, cool. I said, hey, so I got lunch. I got a lunch break in a couple days. I'll be free for lunch if you want to hang out and go for a date or something. I'll meet you for lunch. I was in the Army at the time. And she says, why don't you just come over to my place for lunch? And I was like, yo, whoa. It's my lucky day, bro. It's my lucky day. She wants me to come over to her place for lunch? In uniform? Oh, boy. So I swing on by to her place. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yo, I smell good. I feel good. I look good. I'm ready to do this. She invited me over to her place. And I get there. And turns out she invited me to her place because she doesn't have a car. And her sister's there with two badass kids who should be in school. And they're not in school. And they're there. They're elementary age kids. And she's like, let's go to the back. Let's go to my room. And when we walk in the living room, we are dodging Venus flytraps. We're dodging fly traps, like paper twirls hanging from the ceiling. They hang these things to catch flies in their house, and we're walking around them to get to this room. And then I look down at the ground, the floor of the house. The house was kind of like on bricks. It was a little high off the ground. Maybe 2 or 3 bricks. And I look at the ground, and there's a hole in the ground. And the hole in the ground, I could see in the floor, I could see dirt. So I could see there was no foundation for this house. I don't know where the hell I'm at, what's going on. And it's a true story. And I just remember thinking, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. This is not the caliber of life I should be living. This is not the way I should be. Like, I need to leave this joint. I'm in the wrong spot, bro. I remember being real short with her, just some, talking back and forth a little bit. And I'm like, yo, I got to get going. You know what? I got to get back to work. She didn't have a car. It was her dad's house. Fly traps hanging from the ceiling. Badass kids. I don't know what's going on. I'd probably get robbed up in this joint. I was in the hood. It was bad. I never went back there. And I bring that up because Lewis Carter is about to sign. He's signed and committed to go to UCF. Bro, if I saw that girl on a dating app again, I would never click on that girl's name. I would never reply to her messages. I would never try to get to know that girl. If I saw her name in a dating app or profile, I would not be interested. Because I already know that's a loss. I already know that's not happening. And I bring that up because UCF's defensive coordinator is not somebody you should be excited to play for. His name is Alex Grinch. And if you don't know Alex Grinch, he's the girl with nothing going for her. He's the girl that you don't ever want to date, bro. So you mess with her, you're going to start itching everywhere. So you're going to get bumps you never thought you had, bro. It's going to burn razors when you piss. You don't go play for Alex Grinch. If you don't know Alex Grinch, he's the former defensive coordinator at USC who got fired because USC's defense was terrible. Before that, he was the Oklahoma defensive coordinator, and he's the reason My boy Baker Mayfield doesn't have a national title. Alex Grinch is terrible. No one should be trying to date him. No one should be trying to sign with him. And you got 2 Oklahoma linebackers that are doing it. Why? Because they believe Scott Frost? Scott Frost went and hired a bum. Scott Frost don't want to win, bro. No, you can't do it. Can't do it. And Lewis Carter, 4-star kid out of Tampa, went to Tampa Catholic. I like the kid. He's cool. What are you doing? Alex Grinch, you can't date that dude. You can't date her. His linebackers coach, Zach Alley, just left to be the defense coordinator at West Virginia. I thought Lewis Carter, along with Piccolo, Picanti, I be saying nicknames for these dudes. I thought they were going to West Virginia. Follow your linebackers coach. Follow your linebackers coach who's now a defense coordinator. Instead, you go to UCF. And you're playing for Alex Grinch. That's the chick. I don't know how to tell you guys this. Man. Oh. It's crazy, bro. I can't even share the story with you guys. It's crazy. Girl came to my apartment one night, knocked on the door, said she wanted to come in. It was 2 a.m. I said, come on in. She's sitting on my couch. She's talking to me, telling me all this stuff. She says, can I go use the bathroom? I really got to pee. I said, sure, go. She gets up. She goes to the bathroom. On the couch, right where she was sitting, a used condom on my couch. It came out of her, bro. It slipped out of her. That's Alex Grinch, bro. That's how bad he is. Alex Grinch is, I'm scarred for life. You should not be trying to play for Alex Grinch. You should not be trying to hook up with that girl. You got to leave. Jalen Smith. What up, Jalen? Shout out to Jalen Smith, leaving Tennessee, going to Mississippi State. Another great signing by Mississippi State. Jalen Smith is a Georgia kid. Watched him play at Grayson for many years, 3-star, coming out of high school. I don't give a shit about none of that. He was a stud high school linebacker at Grayson. The only thing I want to say to Jalen Smith is I understand you guys spend the vast majority of your college careers, high school careers, bragging to people that you're playing in the SEC, bragging to people that you're signing with Tennessee or whoever. At some point, you got to realize maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I don't play at this level. I would love to see Jalen Smith dial it back a bit and go play at Troy. Dial it back a bit and go play at South Alabama, Georgia State. Because Mississippi State might be a little too competitive at the linebacker position, and you're just going to find yourself not on the bench. You know, there's a linebacker that used to play at Grayson back in the day. He's got a Hispanic name, Fernandez. Fernandez? I think it's Fernandez. He played at Central Michigan this year. That's like, you got to be realistic. Right now, you're just going around sitting on benches everywhere. So, if Jalen Smith, if you don't get in the rotation this year, I'm going to do a whole video telling you where you need to go. And it's the group of 5, and it'll be pretty cool. I hope you get in rotation, man. I like the kid. Good player. Darius Thomas, Western Kentucky, Louisville. Terrible transfer. I don't care what anybody says. I don't see Darius Thomas on the field. I don't know what this is. This is a kid from Miramar, Florida, playing at Western Kentucky. He started all 12 games for Western Kentucky last year. All 12. After missing 2023 with an injury, starts all his games last year. I don't care. They are loaded in that linebacker room. Louisville. You just saw Caleb Perry on the list. You just saw Caleb Perry. I got a list here in front of me. I'm gonna read it off to you. Caleb Perry, Antonio Watts, TJ Quinn, TJ Capers, Stanquan Clark. All those guys ahead of Darius Thomas. Why are you transferring to Louisville? Because I play at Western Kentucky. I don't want to go to Louisville. Louisville is recruiting you, and I don't think they're going to play you or start you. I'm going to be so curious to see what Darius Thomas tackles look like this upcoming season. And remember what I just said. He just had 54 of them this year. I'm going to go ahead and say he's going to have less than 10. Less than 10. And that you could be on all the special teams in the world. Less than 10. Sterling Dixon leaving Alabama, going to NC State. Congratulations. He spent 1 season at Alabama, made 1 tackle, And then he lost all his starts because he was a 4-star kid going to Alabama. Now he's going to NC State. Nobody likes him. I think he's got potential. I think he's a good player. We'll see what happens. I don't see him in the rotation at all. They're very senior Landyn at linebacker. He's just going to be over there on the bench. So you're on the bench at Alabama. He'll be on the bench at NC State. Shout out to him. He is a Spanish Fort kid. So shout out to South Alabama. I like those kids doing their best. But you wanted to play at Alabama because it's your dream school and all this stuff. I don't know if he's good enough. And he has 4 years of eligibility left. Hope he gets developed at NC State and he becomes somebody. I really do. And the last guy I'm going to talk about tonight before I go to the chat one more time, Jacob Manu. I've told you guys this before. Yes, he's undersized. He's a leader. He's going to do his thing. I believe in him. Over 200 tackles while at Arizona. Yes, they had a bad year this year. I blame that entire coaching staff at Arizona coming over. They coached like they were still at San Jose State. They didn't coach like they were coaching to win games. They didn't coach like they were at a premier program that was ranked in the top 10 at the end of the season. They coached like it was trash, bro, and I can't handle it. By the way, one of the Servite 4, right? The 4 guys from Servite that showed up, Jacob Manu leaves, and that means only one Servite kid is left, and that's Noah Fafita. He's the only kid from Servite left. That's if you don't know Servite High School in California, one of the all-time great public high school teams that we ever saw. Or I should say Southern California teams that we ever saw that wasn't Mater Dei or St. John Bosco. It was Servite, and it was Noah Fafita with T-Mac, Kenyon Burnett, and Jacob Manu. And those guys all went to Arizona, and now they're all gone, right? Burnett went to Kansas. T-Mac's in the NFL draft. Manu's going to Washington. And Fafita's still there, so it is what it is. Yeah, I'll talk about the rest of these guys in the next episode, next linebacker episode. Like always, guys, thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for believing in me and sharing the information with you and trying to teach you about every single player in the transfer portal. We take our time. We bite this apple one bite at a time. And I'm going to sit here and say interact. And I'm going to check the chat one last time before we go. And, it's just a lot of fun to talk to you guys and help you. I see the same familiar faces every night. We never change our energy. We never worry about it. But there you go. There's a lot of studs in the state of South Carolina, for example, Mazio Bennett. Yeah, man, shout out to Bennett, small school guy. Looked him up, small school guy, when I did my film review on him last year. Yeah, there's a lot of hidden gems, man. There really are. One thing about Rico is great stories, bro. I have to keep them PG. I'm being real. The stories are crazy, and I got to keep them PG. The stories can get out of control for you guys. I'm letting you know that right now. I've lived a long life. I've done a lot of adventurous things. It'll blow your mind. Remember when Bishop Amat was a big deal, a big dog in SoCal high school football? Yeah, 1996 time frame. Bishop Amat was the truth in high school football. So was a school named Hart. Hart was really good. Bishop Amat, Hart, Santa Margarita, Tustin, Eisenhower, Ike. Yeah, these were all great teams in the 90s. Yeah, that I remember. If there's something before that, Crenshaw and stuff like that. I remember Crenshaw and Sports Illustrated. They were talking about them. And Inglewood and all that, but I don't remember them myself. I remember watching Bloomington, Pacific be great, Bloomington be great, obviously Long Beach Poly, things like that. So nonetheless, thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate everybody asking your questions and interacting. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows, bro. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Stay up. Don't.